So, a good day to everyone. We're starting today the Kuntras in Yonoi Shel Torah Hasidis from the Rebbe. Let me give you a brief history. In 1965, on Yutes Kislev, the Rebbe, after the Maimer that the Rebbe said, he said a sikha of about 33 minutes about what is the point of Hasidis. What's the point, accomplishment of Hasidis? What does Hasidis want? Not what is Hasidis, what does it want? That talk was taken by Reb Yoel, the Rebbe's chief kind of interpreter. In Hebrew we know that to be the Chayzer. And he took that sikha of the Rebbe and he prepared it for the Rebbe to edit, and he prepared it extensively, and the Rebbe edited extensively, and the book in front of you, the book that we're learning, is that expansion of that talk that he gave in 1965 on Yutes Kislev. So that's simply the historical aspect of this kuntris. We call it a kuntris. It's not a sefer, right? It was called kuntris in Yonoi Shel Torah Hasidis. In English, it doesn't have the word kuntris. It just has in Yonoi Shel Torah Hasidis, because that's the name of the kuntris. The kuntris means the pamphlet. Now, although this was said in 1965, it was not published until December, I believe, 1970, in the back of the first volume of the Chabad Hasidic Encyclopedia. The Chabad Encyclopedia of Hasidus, called Sefer Ha'erkim or Sefer Ho'arochim, that was prepared by Reb Yoel, and today I believe there are already 9 or 10 volumes, with many more in the works. This kuntris was used as a supplement to that sefer. In other words, there's an encyclopedia which gets right into the details. Aleph is Ava and Avu Ben, like a encyclopedia. It follows the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. And the Rebbe agreed to have this expanded edition of what is the point of Hasidus as a supplement printed in the back of that sefer. Okay, so that's the first time that it actually was in print form. I believe December of 1970, and finally, originally they wanted to call this kuntris Mehusa Shel Torah Hasidis, the essence of Torah Hasidis. The Rebbe actually crossed out the Hebrew word mahus and substituted it with the word inyana, which means on the topic of. Now in English, I don't know who told him to do this, and I don't know if it's, I don't think the Rebbe gave it its English name. In other words, the Hebrew word mahus means essence. And the Rebbe crossed out the Hebrew word mahus when they originally presented the kuntras to the Rebbe after Reb Yoel prepared it. They gave it the name Mehusa Shel Torah Hasidis, and the Rebbe crossed out mahus and he wrote in Yonah. But in the English, they did write the word essence. And I think the way they're compensating for the Rebbe crossing out the word essence and they keeping the word essence is by writing the word on the. Now you see, the word on the as coming before the word essence means this is not the essence, it's about the essence. So just like in Hebrew, the word inyana is a substitute for the word mehusa. In English, it seems to me, I'm not the major in English, but I believe that by writing on the essence of Hasidus, it's not saying this is the essence of Hasidus, but rather this is about the essence of Hasidus. And that is true, because this kuntris will explain to us, and we'll read the preface in a moment, will explain to us what the essence of Hasidus is and what is its point. And this was said in 65. It was said shortly after the Rebbe's mother passed away, Vav Tishrei of 1965. The Rebbe's mother passed away, and the Rebbe started to expound Rashi whenever he spoke Shabbos at a Farbrengen. That from his mother's passing, he expounded on a Rashi, and he explained and showed how Rashi isn't just explaining the text, but Rashi integrates all of Torah through Rashi, in addition to answering the simple questions that even a 5-year-old can ask on the text of the Torah. So in a similar vein, the Rebbe explains in this kuntris how Hasidus isn't just a feel-good philosophy, it's not just a bright philosophy, but rather it's something that enhances every aspect of Torah, Torah being Pshat, Remesh, Drush, Soy. There are 4 ways of learning Torah: the simple text, the esoteric text, the homiletical text, and the what's it called? What it alludes to, the Ramazim, Mashalim, Remes, right? So secrets and cryptic secrets, etc. So the point being, the Rebbe says, I'm going to take one example, which he uses the example of Moida Ani. We'll see much later, and he shows how you understand Modani on each of these 4 ways of learning and understanding Torah, and then he shows you how Hasidus understands Modani and how it enhances the Pshat, the Remesh, the Drush, and Soid in understanding Modani. It'll be seen later. Let's now go to page 7, and I'll read out loud quickly the preface. On the Essence of Chasidus, a discourse by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe of blessed memory, is a definitive, systematic explanation of the nature and idea of Hasidic philosophy. The discourse originally delivered by the Rebbe on the 19th Kislev, 1960. It's a mistake. It should be 1965, not 1925. And subsequently printed in Yonah Shel Teres Hasidis in 1970, like I told you, delves deeply into the essential nature of Hasidic thought, describing the unique role Hasidus plays within Torah and its fundamental connection with the soul. The discourse was first published in English by Kahus in 1978, in English. What I was telling you before was in Hebrew, that it was published in 1970 the first time in Hebrew, but in English the first time it was published was for the Rebbe's birthday, 1978, in honor of the Rebbe's 76th birthday. The current edition contains revisions, clarifications, and commentary, and presents both the Hebrew and English together for the first time. An excerpt from a talk given by the Rebbe on the last day of Pesach, 1970, which touches upon matters that are relevant to the idea discussed in the main text, appears as an appendix. I'm sorry?
I just wanted to ask. I don't have the book in front of me yet.
Oh,
but once early on in my learning career, I came across a book that was a discourse of the Rebbe's, something like 100 interpretations of Modani. Are you familiar with that? And is this related to what we're learning now?
Yeah, except it's a little exaggerated. It wasn't 100. It was four interpretations of Modani, not 100. This is it.
I've never been good at math.
Yeah, well, that's pretty obvious. I'm just joking. Anyway.
No, but I do think it was more than that. Anyway, okay, fine.
It sounds, from what you're saying, this is the text.
Okay.
100 interpretations. I mean, not even 50, not even 30.
Okay.
I believe this is it. Okay, now, guys, Chavre, go to page... Yes.
Hillel, I have yours. I'm going to get the shul and leave it in my stender. So
great. Okay, I'll pick it up tomorrow, Blinetta. I just got back from being out of town, so...
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Page 13 now.
Okay.
Go to page 13, introduction and summary. Okay. Hasidism, by now, is a familiar phenomenon and a source of curiosity and fascination to many. Though its founders faced many difficult struggles, it has now become universally known and admired. Authors of all varieties of belief and practice have written countless volumes about its origins, history, and the philosophy. Anthologies of stories and maxims told by and about Hasidim have been compiled and made available in English for many years. Yet, many of these works have been produced by outside admirers, not always steeped in the knowledge of Hasidic philosophy, not familiar with its more intricate and profound teachings. Hence, many of these attempts made to define Hasidis and to describe its precise relation to the rest of Torah have not been at all satisfactory. The need of the English reader for a definition of Hasidus from within, from Hasidic leaders and thinkers themselves, has long been recognized. On the Essence of Chasidus is a definitive explanation of the nature and idea of Hasidic philosophy. Indeed, one of the prime aims of Chabad Hasidus is to systematically define and elucidate general Hasidus in rational, intellectual terms, as will be explained at great length in the text. Hasidus has been popularly conceived, especially by outside historians and biographers, as a teaching which primarily emphasizes joy, enthusiasm, emotion, etc., albeit within the framework of the traditional Jewish codes of law, that is, Talmud, Shulchan Aruch, etc. One who probes more deeply into works of Hasidic philosophy might be surprised, therefore, to find great emphasis placed on the actual practical performance of mitzvahs, on simple deed or action in itself. Though not explicitly referring to the seeming dilemma of whether Hasidus is expressed more in the affect with an A or in action, the Rebbe answers the question by presenting the concept of Hasidus, next page 14, as one of essence. In other words, Hasidus is essence, and analyzes the various modes in which, quote, essence comes to be revealed. Hence, the focal point of the present discourse is the essence of Hasidus. It is a deep and searching inquiry into the central core of Hasidic philosophy and practice, and is not only an introduction to the subject, but also an integral part of classic Hasidic literature. The Rebbe precisely defines the unique relationship Hasidus has with the other parts of Torah and the traditional forms of interpretation, with Kabbalah, with the various dimensions of the soul, with the concept of Mashiach, and with the divine attributes known as Sfiras. He explains the role and function of Hasidus in the world and the imperative reasons for its dissemination. Furthermore, the Rebbe clarifies and illuminates the nature and essence of Hasidus by selecting one specific topic in Torah, analyzing it in light of the four traditional forms of interpretations, and then exploring the very same topic in light of Hasidus. He thus proceeds to show how Hasidus vivifies and illuminates each of these four approaches to Torah. The topic, significantly, is the meaning of the first words a person utters when he awakens from his sleep in the morning, the prayer Maida Ani, which is the fundamental starting point of a Jew's spiritual service for the entire day. Finally, the Rebbe demonstrates the manner in which all the ideas of Hasidus are reflected in, vitalize, and illuminate even the technical and legalistic parts of Torah, using the example of the laws of acquisition through 4 cubits, which will be explained later. Any questions so far? We continue. The discourse was delivered by the Rebbe on the Hasidic holiday of Yitas Kislev 1965. It was originally published at the end of the first volume of Sefer Rachim, the Chabad Encyclopedia, in 1970, and reprinted in a separate cover in 1971. A supplementary appendix excerpted from a talk given by the Rebbe on the last day of Pesach 1970 was added to the 1971 edition. In it, the Rebbe explains why different parts of Torah come to be revealed at different times in Jewish history. It's a very important point. And in particular, why Hasidus has been revealed only in the latter generation. In other words, if it's so important and it's so great that it explains all of Torah, why wasn't it revealed before the Baal Shem Tov? And so the Rebbe explained that in a talk that he gave, and it was printed on Pesach 1970. Top of page 15. Since the subject matter of the Pesach talk is relevant to the ideas delivered on the essence of Hasidus, it has also been translated into English and added as an appendix in the present edition. Yutas Kislev, the date on which the discourse was originally given, celebrates the day upon which the founder of the Chabad Hasidus, Reb Yoel, was released from a Russian prison. He had been arrested and falsely accused of subversive political activities and treason because of his leadership of the Hasidic movement. On the 19th day of Kislev in 1798, he was completely exonerated and freed on express orders of the Tsar. This date ever since has been celebrated by Jews the world over, and especially amongst Chabad Hasidim, for among other reasons, it marks the decisive turning point towards victory in the struggle to spread Hasidus. Hence, Reb Shalom Dov Ber Lubavitch, the Rashab, called it Yitas Kislev, he called Yitas Kislev the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus. Thus, the Rebbe's choice on the essence of Hasidus for his discourse on this special day is deeply connected to the meaning and inner significance of the holiday itself. For it was Rabbi Shneir Zalman who specifically brought the teachings of general Hasidus, as expounded by its founder, the Baal Shem Tov, into systematic, intellectual comprehension. So that was something that the Alter Rebbe did. Hold on. Okay, let's continue. Thus, the Baal Shem Tov is well known for his emphasis on and practice of the great principle of Avas Yisrael, the commandment to love a fellow Yid as oneself. even to the extent of self-sacrifice, and for his affection for encouragement and teaching of the poor, unlettered and opposed masses of Jewry who at the time were separated by a vast gulf from the scholarly elite, by whom they were regarded as inferiors. The Baal Shem Tov emphasized the holiness of every Yid, stressing that everyone can serve Hashem no matter what he or her background or knowledge. He also re-emphasized the importance of joy in divine service and performance of mitzvahs. Furthermore, he taught the deeper doctrines of the esoteric part of Torah in a manner that could be understood even by the simpler, top of page 16, simpler Jew, expressing these profound ideas through parables, stories, and aphorisms. It was Reb Shneir Zalman, as has been said, who formulated the general Hasidis of the Baal Shem Tov into a systematic, comprehensible, intellectual philosophy. Among his numerous and lengthy Hasidic works, Likutei Amorim, or Tanya, is the best known and most widely read and has been translated to English and many other languages. This classic is a concise outline of his philosophy, written in a manner which enables people of all levels of understanding and knowledge to grasp and more deeply understand Hasidus. Each of the 6 leaders of Chabad, succeeding Reb Shneir Zalman, have continued to expand and disseminate Hasidus, not only through their discourses and theoretical writings, but through their life example, with their self-sacrificing work for the good of all Yidden everywhere. They have intensely fought and resisted the efforts of oppressive governments to destroy Yiddishkeit, Judaism, God forbid, placing themselves in great personal peril. The 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, Reb Yosef Yitzchok Schneerson, was imprisoned in 1927 and initially treated by the Soviet government for his refusal to stop teaching Torah in Russia. After his arrival in the United States in 1940, he proceeded to establish Torah centers determined to reawaken the flame of Torah and Yiddishkeit in America. Upon his passing in 1950, he was succeeded by his son-in-law, the Rebbe, who continued and intensified this monumental task of spreading the light of Torah and Judaism and Yiddishkeit throughout America and the entire world to every Yid, wherever he or she may be, and who has inspired countless Yidden everywhere in love for Hashem, Torah, and one's fellow man. Okay? Now, page 17, let's read about the text we're going to be using. Let's read a few notes here, important notes. Notes on the translation and Hebrew text. In vowelizing the Hebrew words in this edition, we have followed the grammatical rules of the holy tongue of Lashon Kodesh, which occasionally differ from the traditional or colloquial pronunciation. In the original Hebrew text, there are 135 footnotes were added by the Rebbe. The Rebbe himself added 135 footnotes to the text. In other words, Reb Yoel Khan, when he took the Rebbe spoke in 65, Reb Yoel took that talk, right? It was on tape, it was the middle of the week, and he expanded it, clarified it, so people can understand it better. But he didn't write footnotes. That's not his department. The Rebbe was the one, and then he submitted it to the Rebbe. The Rebbe took his expansion of what he originally said at the Farbrengen, and he added 135 footnotes, plus he made changes in the text. So it is the Rebbe's text. In other words, I want to make it clear. Don't think that this is Reb Yoel Khan's kuntris. It's not his kuntris. It's the Rebbe's kuntris. Reb Yoel Khan just took some things that the Rebbe said in many things in a brief way, because the Rebbe told him years before, I want you to clarify and elaborate in a way that anyone that reads it will understand it from A to Z, have the full picture. And at the Farbrengen, you understand, you talk about at that time, the Farbrengen went 7-8 hours. It was very long Farbrengens. Okay? So as it is, the Rebbe couldn't speak 4 hours. It would take him 4 or 5 hours to say this whole kuntras. Right? So he said it all in 33 minutes. Reb Yoel Khan took the 33 minutes and he opened it up and made of it this entire kuntras. But how did he make it? Because the Rebbe was the one who added the 135 footnotes. He added and subtracted things that Reb Yoel wrote, and he gave it back for publication. That's what you have. So you have the Rebbe's actual confirmation that this is the way I want the writing to appear in print. Clear? So you understand? It's like Rabbi Soloveitchik wrote, very little, but what he wrote, he himself edited and made sure that's the way he wanted it to come out. So it's, even though he had a person or people help prepare things that he said and put into writing, because putting into writing is a very different style than just communicating through speech. Let's continue. I want to finish this page. The translators, third paragraph on page 17. The translators have also, so now he's talking about the translators of this text, this version of the text. The translators have also added their own attempted clarifications, explanations of terms, concepts, names, etc. It should be understood that these commentaries and explanations are tentative and by no means an exhaustive or complete understanding of the text. They are meant to make the text clearer and more accessible to readers of all backgrounds. The text is a free translation, and the translators have attempted to make the language as clear and simple as possible. Nevertheless, the beginner may find some parts of the notes quite complex and perhaps difficult, but they are meant to be of aid to those who also already have some knowledge of Hasidis, like we, because we've been learning Hasidis for 5 years. Some of these notes develop independent topics and may be studied separately. In addition, the translators have researched the Rebbe's references. You see, amongst those 135 references that the Rebbe added to the text, most of them are very brief. See Talmud, page so-and-so. So you have to ask yourself a question, what is it in that piece of Talmud that adds clarity or asks a question or makes it, on what the text is? You have to go check the Talmud. And you have to understand properly that piece of Talmud. So what they've done here is they've done it for us. That's what he says here. That the translators have researched the Rebbe's references and included summaries of the contents of those which they felt would be of invaluable aid to the reader, thus alleviating the reader of the task of looking up this information. To facilitate distinguishing between the words of the Rebbe and those of the translators, minor variations in the text and notes have been made. All brackets are uniformly used to denote additions, remarks, and clarifications of the translators. So we know now anything in brackets is not from the Rebbe, it's from the translators. Parentheses are used for the words of the Rebbe. So this is a very, very important note as we go through it. If you want to know what the Rebbe actually wrote or said, it's in the parentheses. And if it's in brackets, it's from the translators. Footnotes added by the translators are enclosed in brackets. Okay? Again, footnotes added by the translators. The original 135 footnotes are the Rebbe's. They are in either in just, there, or if they have a parentheses around them. But anything in brackets, even footnotes, is not from the Rebbe. It's not one of those 135. It's the translators' editions. All chapter titles are the translators. In other words, the Rebbe did not, Reb Yoel and the Rebbe, none of the, did not write. It's the what's it called? I want to just end with one thing. Rabbi Leibel Shapiro, the Rosh Hashiva in Miami, the great Talmud Chacham, he said over that after this was prepared by Reb Yoel, I think he showed it to Rabbi Shapiro, who was a student of his and close to him, and he said, aren't you going to put your name on the bottom that this was prepared by you? And he said, Chas v'sholem. Chas v'sholem. And I think somewhere in the original introduction, you could find in small words his name over there. I think. I'm not even sure of that. But, and it wasn't, knowing him, it wasn't just, lip service. He really felt that this is the Rebbe's, this is not mine. I have a schus, and I have an obligation, because the Rebbe wants me to clarify and elaborate, and I'll do that. But I don't take any credit whatsoever, and I think that's an amazing thing to learn from, I mean, the average person puts his name, one way or the other and wants to be in a prominent way. I spent all this time, and here is someone who says, no, don't mention my name. I mean, Rabbi Shapiro says, like when he asked Reb Yoel, he was surprised. He gave it to him to look, and he didn't see his name. So he said, aren't you? And he said, absolutely not. It was like chutzpah that you even ask me. Chutzpah that it enters your mind that I would want to have my name there. I think that's something great to learn from. Yes? Anyone to say something? Okay, so Chevra, we read today. We didn't do any teaching inside. Tomorrow we'll start. Hillel, try to get the text. So this way you'll have it. Yeah. And everyone have a great day. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Zayigazim. Bye-bye.
Good day, everybody.
Shalom. Bye-bye. Take care.